list of things that potentially can ruin the podcast? What wackiness will we come up with next? Will there even be a next? All this and more on Phantom Roulette. Hey everybody, welcome to Phantom Roulette. This is Joe.
I'm dying.
I got Cody real good.
Oh.
Did you like that? Did you like that fucking trailer pitch?
Oh my god, that trailer was good. Guys, I'm Cody. Sorry.
What? Who is this laughing man? We've never watched. Hey everyone, welcome to Phantom Roulette. This is a podcast that talks about a myriad of nerdy things. A little bit of history, a little bit of video games, a little bit of RPG, and whatever we are interested in or feeling about this week. And to begin, Cody, what is some nerdy stuff that you've been up to?
Nerdy stuff that I've been up to.
Yeah.
One of them's for the video game section. One of them's for the grab bag section.
I gotta stop asking you this question.
And I'll get to the good part.
Okay.
The part that I'm not going to talk about. I'm still weirdly into Destiny 2. It's weird because I know it's like not good, but I've gotten some hype. Oh, E3 just did their first show today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, EA just did their run, which, by the way, whoo, what a stinker that was.
Oh, boy.
It's not good. I might talk about it at another section when I come back from my extended leave.
So what you're saying is that they challenged everything? Yeah.
Oh, too good.
Good joke, Joe.
Oh.
Pat myself on the back with that one.
Nice. What have you been up to, my dude?
Well, I don't know if I've ever talked about this all that often, but I'm like kind of a connoisseur of trailers. I really enjoy trailers quite a lot. And this past week, a bunch of really good trailers dropped.
Nice.
About movies that I was already kind of excited about, and they've only made me more excited in a lot of ways. So we had the very good trailers that dropped this week are How to Train Your Dragon 3.
Okay.
Which I feel is a movie that is not marketed towards children. It is marketed towards me, Joe, host of Phantom Roulette. Especially because there was a poster that came out that was originally in France, and I think it might be coming to America as well, which is it's Hiccup riding on Toothless, and he's like an adult man with a full beard, and he's looking into the water, and it's little kid Hiccup from the first movie looking back at him in the water.
Damn.
And I was like, oh boy, that's my emotions. The Lego Movie 2 trailer came out.
Okay.
Which was very adorable.
Sure.
The Wreck-It Ralph, so those were like the two top ones. The ones that were like okay were the Wreck-It Ralph trailer 2 made me a little hesitant, but I trusted
Redacted.
Disney. They go into the internet, and it's like there's a tree full of birds, and they're tweeting, and there's like a big like monolith that has Google on it, and I'm like, oh, don't emoji movie us Wreck-It Ralph 2.
Yikes.
But like I trust.
Do they accidentally go to 4chan and go into the bad parts of the internet?
Oh no. Oh god. Then in a surprise trailer that made me somehow more excited for the movie than the first trailer did, Skyscraper.
I don't know what that is.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Which looks like a weird hybrid of like Die Hard and another movie that I'm forgetting right now, but basically Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is hired as a security guard in this like super tower. Like it's like 1,000 stories tall, and it's like an entire city within it, and then like terrorists take it over, and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is the only man who can save it.
Of course.
And the first trailer looked like a very generic kind of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson trailer, but in the new trailer that dropped in front of a thing that I just saw, which we'll talk about in just a second. This is gonna be a long intro. I just hope you're prepared for this.
I'm fine. I'm good.
His family gets into the mix, which actually made it look way cooler because it was like all that action, like tower action stuff. So like running through like falling beams and like fire coming out of like ceilings and stuff.
Yeah.
But like his wife and kid are right there with him, and I was like, oh man, that kind of turned this into a compelling looking trailer.
Just throw a kid in there.
And then a movie that I'm hoping is good bad, but could potentially be bad is
oh no,
Mortal Engines, which the first trailer looked great.
What is Mortal Engine?
The first trailer was a masterclass in making a trailer that looked so dumb Joe wanted to see the movie.
Okay.
Which is, you have this, like, little car driving, and it's like... So it looks like a Mad Max-ish thing. I think it's based off of a graphic novel.
Sure.
But it's a little car driving, and it looks like a city, and then over the horizon, a very, very big car comes over, but it's like a gigantic truck city, and it's playing this, like, English, like, folk song, where England shall be free, and it's London, and then they open up the front part, and there's this huge gaping maw, and then these, like, 15, like, harpoon guns slam into the city and pull it in.
Oh,
and
I
then
know what you're talking about now.
Slam, and it's from Peter Jackson.
Okay.
And the new trailer dropped, and it's like...
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping it's good bad, but it might be bad.
Oof.
And then...
That's a gamble.
To move into my potentially podcast ruining thing. Cody, could you please, like, look deep into your heart and give me some, like, light piano music? Like, just like, like you would have at the end of, like, a nice, like, television program, like when a character talks about a lesson.
Yes.
Okay, we'll do it both. Go ahead. Okay. I was hoping you were gonna do it, like, with your mouth sounds. But this is the best intro ever. So we're recording on a Saturday
In the same room.
And I have now seen the movie Solo twice.
Twice?
A Star Wars Story. And...
I was unaware.
Yeah. So, okay. Brief intro time where this was where the light music comes in, like, right here. Here on Fandom Roulette, we respect people's opinions. And we hope that you come and you can respect our opinions too, as human beings. We love you so much. And we know that the internet is an increasingly mean and bad and toxic place. But Solo: Star Wars Story is my favorite Star Wars movie. There, I said it. If you want my 10 Star Wars power ranking, I will give it to you, because I was like saying that, going on record and saying that Solo: A Star Wars Story is the hill that I am 100% prepared to die on is already bad. But here is my top 10 power ranking.
No, hold on.
Number 1,
Oh god,
Solo: A Star Wars Story. Number 2, Star Wars: Episode 8 - The Last Jedi.
Oh.
Number 3,
This is the hill you want to die on today.
Star Wars: Episode 6 - Return of the Jedi. 4,
Oh, God.
Star Wars: Episode 5 - The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
Number 5, Star Wars: The Force Episode 7 - The Force Awakens. Then New Hope, Rogue One, and then I would say probably Sith, Phantom, and then Clones is my least favorite. I don't know why.
You just did a top 10 list within this podcast.
Yeah.
Do you feel like a YouTuber now?
No, maybe, but no, because, like,
This is my top 10 list.
The thing that the reason I say that, like, this is potentially podcast ruining, like, I say it, like, kind of in jest, but, like, I know so many people hated The Last Jedi, and, like, in so many ways, Solo is, like, almost the antithesis of The Last Jedi, and yet I love them both for very different reasons.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, so, like, a lot of criticism we've seen about Solo are things that I feel are being, like, blown way out of proportion.
Sure.
In a lot of ways. Which is, we're going to play, like, a mind game real quick.
We're also going to play the game where I haven't seen this movie yet, so I hope that you don't spoil
No, I'm not going to spoil anything.
Okay.
So,
all right, let's play this mind game.
So, do you mind if I tell you something that happens in the first 10 minutes of the movie?
Sure. If it's the first 10 minutes.
So, he's about to get off the planet, and he signs up to join the Empire's, like, flight school.
Okay.
And he goes up to the guy, and he's like, "What's your name?" And the guy, he says, "Han." And he goes, what's your last name? Who are your people? And then he stands there for a second and he goes, no one, I don't have anyone. And the guy looks, he goes, huh, Solo. Good luck, Han Solo. And everyone's talking about this like it's the worst thing that's ever happened in a Star Wars movie.
So the movies are implying that it is now officially canon. Han never had a last name.
Well, but like it's he had a last name, but
he lost it at some point because he didn't have his parents.
Yeah, because he's like a street orphan, right?
Yeah,
and even the movie kind of like does a thing where like the guy thinks he's a little more clever than he actually is, and everyone's talking about this like it's the worst thing that's ever happened, and like if it was like at the end of the movie and he was like, what's up next? Like what's up next time? He's like, Han, call me Solo. I would have been like, boo. But like it happened really quick, and then here's the other thing. So people are acting like, oh, we didn't need this story. We don't care about like the Kessel Run or how he got his last name or like this, that, the other, how he met Chewbacca, this, that, the other thing.
Sure. I don't think that's the point. But...
If this was the trailer, okay, which is you start off and it's like that Lucasfilm logo, and then it's like a clip of Harrison Ford mugging at the camera, and then it's like title card, and it's like the rogue that became a general, and then it cuts to young Han Solo, and he's like doing a thing, and then it cuts to Harrison Ford again, and it's like the man who stole a princess's heart, and then it cuts to young Han Solo doing the thing. It's like, this summer, all your answers will be revealed. Solo, a Star Wars story. I probably would hate the movie too. But when you watch the trailers, it presents itself as this is a fun heist movie that happens to have Han Solo in it. It was not trying to advertise itself like all your hot Solo questions that you didn't have from the movies will be revealed. Like, I don't know. I really enjoyed it.
I will say this.
Yes.
I saw the first trailer that came out, like the reveal trailer.
Sure.
And then they released a second trailer.
Yeah.
At some point, and I saw both. I didn't want to see the movie on the first trailer.
Okay.
I think the trailer was trying way too hard to paint Solo as this kind of, I'm a rogue because I have to be, but I'm really a good person.
Yeah.
And it was like...
I think the movie has a little bit of that.
Sure, and that's fine, but like, that's not the selling point of the movie.
No.
Like, if that's a character development, cool. But like that, and that's why I was like, I put my foot down when I saw that trailer, and I was driving home. I was like, I'm not seeing the Solo movie because that's to me. If that's the whole movie, I'm out.
Sure.
Then I saw trailer 2.
Yeah,
and then that one they played up it's a heist movie and Han Solo's in it.
Yeah.
So like, and I'm like, I know I said no, but like a heist movie in the Star Wars universe, like fucking count me in.
So like, what I'm gonna say, so like my like kind of glib Facebook review was like Solo, my favorite Star Wars movie, haters to the left. And like I've seen a couple of things that I would consider valid criticisms.
Sure.
Of it.
I mean, like most Star Wars movies.
By no means is it a perfect movie.
Right.
I feel like there's a part of me that cannot be objective about this movie because it literally it does so many things that I love in movies. Like it was quippy, it was like roguey, it had some really nice like character heartstring pulling moments. There were like space barbarians, there were space pirates. It was everything I've ever wanted. So anyway.
And then also, my last question.
Sure.
Did you have fun watching it?
Oh my god. I went to see it again.
Yeah. So like, I feel like that's what matters.
About halfway through the movie.
It is a fun movie from what I've heard.
It is a fun movie that does not take itself too seriously. There are no Jedi. There is at no point anyone like, we have to do this thing to save the rebellion. It's like...
Or like use hope as like the defining theme for the movie.
It's like, hey, we fucked up a job real bad, and now we have to do a more dangerous job to fix the fact that we fucked up real bad. Like, yeah,
I want to see it.
I wouldn't go see it again if I didn't have a good time. When I saw it the first time, I saw it at a drive-in with my friend, And at about halfway through the movie, I lean over and I'm like, I think this might be my favorite Star Wars movie.
Nice.
It's not even, it wasn't even over yet. I'm like, I think this might be my favorite Star Wars movie. And he goes, hey, we're not even halfway done with the movie yet. Like, wait until the end to have your opinion. And then about 10 minutes later, he leans over to me and goes, okay, yeah, this might also be my favorite Star Wars movie. And then I took a week off. I saw it again, and it only confirmed on the second viewing. But anyway, fandom roulette. So anyway,
did you just restart the podcast?
No. Hey Cody, what stuff have you been up to this week? Because like I'm looking, we're like what? How deep are we in at this point?
We are at about 16 minutes.
Yeah, and like
this is the longest intro we've ever done.
That was a really long intro, but like I know you hadn't seen Solo yet.
Yeah,
and I really want to talk about it at some point, like in greater detail.
So yeah, we flipped. When I come back, I will probably have seen Solo.
There's probably a good chance.
So we're gonna talk about it then.
Yeah,
in like 3 weeks.
Who knows? You might have a differing opinion from me. But like,
I have a feeling I won't. But
like, as of this moment, like, number one favorite Star Wars movie. It did everything I enjoy. It did so many things right. I loved it.
Nice. Longest intro / maybe longest tangent.
Well, no, because it was intentional. I was
tangent.
100% planning on standing on this hill and waving that flag a la Les Miserables.
Nice.
Theater nerd reference. All fandoms are welcome here.
I actually surprisingly knew that reference. I was also a theater junkie in high school.
I didn't know that. We have so much in common.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So why don't you tell us about some things that have happened in the past that we have recorded probably incorrectly or weirdly or something?
Yeah, sure. So I was like looking up, I've started trying to find stories in history that I thought were weird and fun all at the same time.
Yes.
Because that's fun to me. And so I found a kind of interesting one, at least I think it's interesting. I hope our listeners find it interesting as well, called the 1908 New York to Paris race.
Well, now wait a minute.
Yes.
How does that work?
Oh, man. Listen to that. Excuse me, sir. Can you turn that up? Oh, I want a Cracker Jack, man. Hey, what's up, man? What are those goggles you have on your head? Oh, these are my motorist goggles, laddie. I heard you were talking about the horseless carriage. Yeah, I was. Cody is now turning around in shame because he's like, we don't have time for character work on this episode, Joe. You spent 15 minutes ranting about Solo, a Star Wars story. Your pick for number one film. Star Wars film. Not number one film, but anyway. So, in 1908, there was two newspapers. It was the New York Times and the Parisian newspaper La Matin issued kind of this, they were co-sponsors of this race, which was who made the best car.
Okay.
And so there were 6 competitors, 4 countries. Germany, France, Italy, and the United States.
Sounds like the usual in car stuff.
Yeah, of course. And so, Germany kind of famous for, producing, even still today, some of the best cars in the world.
Yep.
I think, I don't know, maybe France's automobile industry has
I'm not familiar with
a bit by the wayside. I know Italy is starting to make a comeback with Fiat and things like that, and then of course the United States, we were the rubber capital of the world and things like that. But they issued this decree. They wanted to do a race to get from New York to Paris going westbound, which means across the continental United States, through Asia, through Russia, eventually ending at Paris.
There's a big body of water in the way.
Well, so here was the thing, Cody.
Okay.
They had the brilliant plan that they were going to start in winter. Because the thought process was, we're going to go through the United States. Once we get to California, we're going to take a hard right. We're going to cut through Canada, go through Alaska, and then drive over the Bering Strait, which we were hoping was going to be frozen at that point.
Oh no! Why? This is like some fucking action movie shit. Dwayne The Rock Johnson should be in this.
So it's funny. It's funny that you should say that, because there is actually a comedy movie called, I believe it's just called The Great Race, starring Jack Lemmon and a couple other people, but like Jack Lemmon is like one of the main characters.
Okay.
Which, if you ever watch it, it feels very inspirational to the Hanna-Barbera cartoon Wacky Racers.
Yeah. I used to watch it all the time as a kid.
Yeah, it was a great show. And so, like, down to, like, the villain in the movie The Great Race has, like, a literal Snidely Whiplash, like, mustache.
the twirly mustache.
And he has all of these, like, little, like, scam things to, like, prevent the hero. And then, like...
Does he have a talking dog that, like, sets up traps in the foreground?
He has a sidekick that is a human... But, like...
But does he snicker when he puts down the spike traps?
I feel like the dog character in Wacky Racers is probably, like, an homage to this character because it was, like, the kind of bumbling sidekick.
Yeah.
But, like, was maybe a little bit smarter than the actual guy because he goes, like, maybe we shouldn't do this. And then the bad guy's like... But anyway, and then, of course, like, the female driver at some point gets involved and it's like, woman driving. Whoa.
Yeah.
But, so... Here's some fun things about this race, Cody.
Other than the fact that they drove over the water.
Here is a quote about the automobile circa 1908. The motor car is the most fragile and capricious thing on Earth.
Huh. I would disagree, but...
This is 1908. So this is before we put things like roofs on. This was...
Oh god, I forgot about that. Oh no.
So like that little joke when that guy puttered up and he was wearing those like goggles, like the reason that they would like motorists would wear goggles like that was the fact that they didn't have a windshield. Or if they had a windshield, it was like a very small windshield. So like you literally had to protect your face from the stuff that was being kicked up from the road as you were driving. Ooh. Which, by the way, most places in America were not yet paved.
Well, yeah, so it's mostly, like, gravel and shit, or, like...
Gravel, dirt, and what, Cody, do you remember what time of year I said they left good old New York City?
The winter time?
Yeah. Hey,
oh, a bunch of snow!
You know it hadn't been invented yet?
Clouds?
Yeah, Cody, come over here real quick. I want to show you.
No!
This is good podcasting.
Oh,
guys.
Yeah, we're doing visual shit on an audio medium. This is good. Oh, no.
Yeah. So, for the listeners at home, I'm going to find a way to post this picture. But they are literally traveling single file, and the snow is about halfway up the cars. Apparently, the cars were just breaking down left and right all over the place. Oftentimes, they were traveling in single file solely because, like, it was the easiest way to travel.
Oh, no.
And then, as you might... Oh, and so... in a lot of cases, the teams, because this was like teams of people, would just like try to put their cars up on like railroad ties to travel along the railroad ties, because at the very least, like it was a stable thing that wasn't covered in snow and had a little bit of traction on it.
Sure.
And so when they got to San Francisco, it had taken 41 days.
Go figure.
To travel from New York to San Francisco.
Rough.
In the snow with no paved roads. Went through Alaska. They went up to Alaska by ship, but they determined that it was impossible to drive over the Bering Strait. So
no, I wonder why.
They were traveled by a steamship to Japan, where then they made their way across the Sea of Japan. And then they went through Siberia. But now, here's the next aspect of things, which is by the time they hit Siberia and Manchuria, we're hitting the spring, and all that snow is starting to melt, which is saturating the ground, which is making it muddy.
Oh no.
But the closer we get to Paris, the better the roads were becoming.
Yikes.
So, here's the thing. Of the original drivers, I believe...
None of them survived.
No, there was actually a winner. I believe only 4 of them actually completed it. There was a German team that technically beat the winner, which was the American team. But they were penalized because they never actually went up to Alaska to find out that they had to then take a steamer to Japan.
So they just went straight to Japan.
I think that might be the instance, or at the very least they were accused of, not following the actual route that was given.
Sure.
And then the win went to Americans, George Schuster, and the Italians arrived in September of 1908. What year did George Schuster make it? Does it say? Oh, July. So took the Italians a little bit of time. But they left New York in February 12th, 1908, and they made it to Paris on July 30th, 1908. So, that is the story of...
Oh my god.
Oh, here we go. The 1965 movie, The Great Race, was loosely inspired by the 1908 New York to Paris race, though heavily fictionalized for comedy, and it stars Jack Lemmon, Tony Curtis, and Natalie Wood.
Okay.
So, I've seen it. I've seen a lot of it. I don't know if I've actually seen the full thing, but it has that nice 60s comedy charm, if you ever want to give it a shot.
Okay.
And it apparently is noted for having the greatest pie fight ever. So, I did not see that part of the movie. Any questions?
Why?
I mean...
How did it start?
Honestly, I think it was just... So, it's a couple of things, which is, I think it was, like I said, just a competition to see who was making the best cars.
Sure, but can't you decide that on a small racetrack?
But I mean, it was like the whole spectacle thing, right?
Sure. It just sounds so very dangerous, and there wasn't somebody in the boardroom at any of these decision-making situations who was like, "Is this dangerous? Is this?"
There was a similar race called the Peking to Paris race.
Sure.
I don't know when this quite took place, but I mean, it took place the year before. But one of the things that it really does is it was designed to show you the dependency of automobiles.
Okay, yeah.
So it's obviously no one thinks anymore that we could drive a car across a frozen body of water.
Well, now I'm convinced that we can.
Or anything like that. No, they didn't do it, Cody.
I'm convinced that we can.
Okay, cool.
This is what you've taught me today.
Shit, I didn't expect this to be the podcast ruining thing I said. I thought it was gonna be all that solo shit.
No, I'm gonna drive over the whatever you said.
But it eventually kind of changed the perception of automobiles being kind of like toys for the very, very rich to becoming a long distance transportation for the masses. And then I guess a sort of tangential thing it did was to convince people that maybe we should have better paved roads. So anyway.
I mean, there's an effect there.
Yeah, for sure. That is the 1908 New York to Paris race. When I saw this, I was like, I need to talk about this. This sounds amazing. And just real quick, I'll have you start talking about video game things unless you have any other questions for me. And I just want to look up to see if, according to this source I'm looking at right now, apparently it was a major influence on Wacky Racers, which was the Hanna-Barbera cartoon series, which you can just kind of tell based 100% on just the way that Jack Lemmon looks in this movie. So, there you go.
Nice.
There you go.
All right.
History.
Yeah. This is going to be a long episode.
Oh,
it's just for everybody.
It's going to be a real long episode.
Because we've technically hit the middle section and we haven't even gotten to video games. So anyway.
This is making up for 2 weeks ago when we didn't have a grab bag. This one has 2 grab bags, one of them at the beginning and one of them at the end. Much like everyone's favorite kind of Russian roulette, where you have 2 very similar bullets at the beginning and then. I don't actually know how Russian roulette works, guys. Do you put 5 bullets in the chamber?
Okay, I know the podcast is called Phantom Roulette, but I am not an expert on how you almost potentially kill yourself with a revolver.
Cody.
But what?
When you pitched the show to me, you said you were a Russian roulette expert.
I'm not an expert.
I feel like I've been lied to.
So anyway, we're learning more and more about each other.
Video games.
Yeah. So
look who it is. It's Terry. Hi, Terry. gotta acknowledge that you're in the room because that's what our fans crave.
It's weird because I don't see him. You put invisible paint on him again.
Hey guys, it's me. It's Terry. I'm over here. Terry, I think this is the third week in a row where you sound completely different from the previous weeks. Yeah, I know, man. I can't help it. You don't listen to the podcast. Guys, I put on sunglasses to hide his shame.
I am trying to hide my shame.
Alright, hey, Cody, why don't you tell us about this video game that you played with your hands?
So, this game came out June 5th. So, this week, I think. Yeah, this week.
Yeah.
It's from the developers that did Life is Strange. If you're familiar with that game.
Nope.
Basically, it is a story game about a 18-year-old photography major who finds out that she can rewind time. I know, right? It's a very story-driven game. Like, a lot of it is kind of just like, this game is moving, here are your choices, butterfly effect. And it kind of gets into a lot of some crazy stuff, like some pretty heavy stuff. It's very emotional, it's story-driven. I haven't finished it. I'm watching somebody play through it because I'm going to be honest with you, having it on the side while I'm doing other things is going to save me a lot more time.
Yeah, that's fair.
So these guys made another game called Vampyr.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Vampyr.
Yeah. At first I thought they were just spelling vampire like assholes. However, that's not the case.
No, it's like the historic spelling of vampire.
Sure. And again, English is my second language. I don't have a first language.
There you go.
So here we are.
You brought it in. You got it. Cody said that in pre-pro, and I was like, that is so funny. Cody, you need to say that in the show. And you know what, Cody? It was very funny. So, now you're doing the character work. Who was that little pistol boy that came in?
His name's McCree.
Redacted.
Oh no, oh crap. Cancel the episode. Copyright infringement.
Redacted.
Don't sue us, please.
I'll put redacted in.
We don't have any money.
So, Vampyr is a RPG set in World War II in London?
Okay.
Yeah, London. In 1918, as the Spanish flu is starting to become a epidemic that is just ravaging. Yeah, and so a medical officer who had just come back from the front lines is going to see his mother because she is showing signs of potentially having the Spanish flu. And he gets jumped.
Oh no.
And then his whole world gets turned upside down as he wakes up in a gutter, and yeah, and then his vision's all weird. He can see the inside of people, which is super strange, and he can't control this weird.
What?
Unfortunately, he's become a vampire.
You mean a vampire?
Or a vampire, yeah.
Come on, vampire. What is this Western bullshit?
I'm sorry, guys.
Are you gonna fucking sparkle and like eat deer or some bullshit?
No.
Yeah, Twilight.
Gross.
Made it on the show.
Oh man.
Everyone's included here. Stay
So it's an RPG where you basically take on the role of a vampire who was a surgeon. More specifically, he specialized in blood. The extreme irony. And
extreme irony.
Extreme irony. We need some like MLG horns in here.
Just some good Foley work.
Yeah, so basically you play as this doctor who has to hide, but you're a vampire, so you have to go and feed and do all this stuff, and it's kind of the main character, who's Dr. Reed, I believe, is I don't know his full name, to be honest with you.
A bold new direction for the Arthur franchise.
And
Arthur's last name was Reed.
And so you're trying to figure out who transformed you during your first kind of days of not knowing what's going on. You accidentally kill your sister.
Oh shit!
Spoilers, that happens in the first 20 minutes of the game. So
well, we spoiled the first 10 minutes of Solo Star Wars story, Joe's favorite Star Wars film.
Right, and you're gonna die on that hill.
Oh, 100% dying on that hill. Hey guys, you know what another good thing about
Stop! No!
Solo's Star Wars story? It was the relationship between Han Solo and Chewbacca, my favorite bromance. And the second time I saw it was on International Best Friend Day. So
don't listen to him.
Oh, you cannot hear me. You cannot hear.
It's true.
Standing for Solo: a Star Wars story, Joe's favorite Star Wars film.
Anyways, we're back, and so this RPG game. One of the big draws in the game is that you can consume pretty much everyone in the game, including quest givers.
Oh.
And if you do that, so basically there's a lot of story in the game. You go around and everyone has their own secrets and their own plights, and you can either go out and help them, quest, bring stuff back for them, that the usual RPG stuff. However, if you learn everything about them and then consume them, you get a shit ton of experience.
Oh, okay.
And so the game is always kind of trying to it's always trying to do man, this game sure is hard. It'd be nice if you consumed that innocent old man Jenkins over there who you just did that quest for.
I consume old man Jenkins.
And it's cool because they kind of always hit that home. The fact that you can consume, and there's different sections. You're kind of in this 6 block area, and each block has its own there's a pillar of the community, so the person who kind of holds it together, and then there's all these different people who all have their own personal relationships with other people.
Okay.
And there's this corruption meter. So every time you consume someone, you drop down on the meter. People can also get sick.
Okay.
So they might, I have a cold or I have a migraine or whatever. And that will, not that this necessarily works in real life, but that sickness can just spread through everyone and reduce that corruption, or
don't drink that sick blood.
Yeah, don't drink that blood.
Don't drink that
sick
blood.
One of the things is if the corruption gets so bad, it turns that area, that block, turns into just chaos. Everyone leaves or everyone dies, and basically all that's there are monsters of, things like that. You fight weird werewolves and kind of lesser zombie or lesser vamps and things like that. You also fight vampire hunters. That's a big thing.
Cool.
There's a secret group of vampire hunters that are
vampire hunters. Those guys tend to be cool.
Yeah, not so much in this game.
Well, okay. Yeah.
They're usually cool.
Yeah. Yeah. You know who else is cool?
Sure.
Most of the barbarian characters from Solo: A Star Wars Story, Joe's favorite Star Wars film.
Oh. Anyways, so I'm really far in. Of these 6, I think there's 6 areas. I have pretty much gone pretty deep into 3 of them, and you have missions where you have to interact with the pillars of that community, and you have to make some pretty hard choices where you don't have the answers for them.
Yeah,
and so
had to make some hard choices. The characters. Solo: A Star Wars Story, Joe's favorite Star Wars film.
So I had to make a choice. One of the pillars of community was blackmailing the only person who could help me figure out my vampire life. And so I tried to, with my vampire powers, make them forget. And this is spoilers for the game. So if you plan on playing it, skip this bit.
Skip the next 10 seconds.
Sure. She ends up becoming a vampire zombie thing, and you have to kill her. and basically I have destroyed that entire community.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
That's about 10 seconds, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll put a note in here.
That felt about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
What's
and then I
We're at like 45 minutes right now, right?
Yeah, so this game has a lot of... yeah. This game has a lot of, like, really cool RPG choices. The story is intriguing enough. I'm interested in it, and I want to see where it goes. The combat is a little... It's not doing anything new.
Okay.
But it's not terrible either.
Okay.
I would think it is, like... It kind of revolves around making sure you have enough stamina to, like, dodge out of the way of attacks.
Can I ask a quick query?
Yeah.
Not to derail you or anything.
Sure.
Did Life is Strange have any combat in it?
No, not at all. In fact, Life is Strange wasn't even really considered an RPG at all. Like, it was a story-driven game with some, like, choices.
That was, like, the only other major thing they had done up to this point? Or were there other
I
things
think
that,
they
like,
might
didn't
have
really
done...
cross the pond, so to say?
Life is Strange is really the only one that I know.
Okay. I mean, it could just be, like, they're getting their feet wet with combat.
Yeah,
so.
but, like, the story, like, it's spot on. It's interesting enough. Combat's kind of whatever. If you're looking for, like, I need something that's mechanically challenging and, like, I want something that's just above and beyond the Call of Duty here, you probably won't find it in Vampyr, but the story's really great, and I think the choices you have and, like, kind of the vampire powers you can get, like, you can, like, shoot blood missiles out of your hand, which is kind of neat, and you can lay traps, and, you know, you get a sword and a gun. So, like, some pretty cool stuff going on. But otherwise, yeah, I think it's good.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
So where can we find this video game?
Right now, it is on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and on the computer, I think on the Steam. So that's where you can find it. I think it was $40. So I don't even think it was a full price game. So it's worth a look at.
Oh, Video James is also here too.
Yeah, he was hiding in the corner. I didn't see him.
So yeah, it sounds really neat. That sounds like an interesting game.
Yeah.
So this week I've chosen to do a spoken word style for the middle section song.
Yeah.
I've never actually listened to anything spoken word style. But I have to assume it's kind of like beat poetry. In the middle section, you will know Joe's favorite Star Wars movie is : a Star Wars story, Solo. Come join us, and you will learn about where you can find us on the social media burn middle section.
Oh, I'm gonna die. Welcome to the
Middle section.
Dead Horse Society, where we beat dead horses forever and ever, and we'll never stop.
What are you talking about, Cody?
What? Nothing.
What do you mean?
Hey guys, this is the middle section.
Okay, can you please explain to me?
No.
What are you talking about?
If you want to get at us,
Are
there are several ways.
Are you talking about how I was bringing up Solo, it's cool at the start?
Okay. Anyways.
Okay, go ahead.
Running gag aside,
Yeah.
if you want to get at us at Twitter, this is where we post stuff like, you know, the images that Joe may or may not send on there. Or if we do things like record on a Saturday instead of on a Thursday or on a Wednesday.
Oh shit, I forgot.
Yeah, you can find that information at fandom_podcast. That is where Joe dwells on the internet.
Yeah.
If you want to get at us on a personal level, where it sends directly to our email, a lot of our questions and a lot of the things we talk about are based off of what people are interested in.
Don't be tsundere.
Sure. I don't know what that means.
Okay.
Went way over my head. But you can send us an email.
Trust me, Cody. The weebs left.
Okay. They can.
So goes the weebs, goes the nation.
You can find us at fanroulettepodcast@gmail.com. Or if you go to our website, www.fandomroulette.com, you can find information, you can find our podcast episodes, and at the very bottom, there's a contact us section where it'll also go to our email. We're also on SoundCloud and iTunes, so do the liking and the subscribing and all the fun stuff. We greatly appreciate it.
Leave comments about how much you also love Cole and Star Wars story.
Yes, or how you want to socially destroy Joe on this hill that he wants to die on. So that is the end of the middle section.
Okay, cool. So I have a garbage kit here in front of me.
Yes.
Crinkle paper, fully sound.
It's good. That's a good one. I don't even know if the mic will pick it up. I picked that up.
Yeah, cool. Yeah. So I want to introduce you to a character named Wysperios Adbalar Olosalor Nightquake.
The fuck was that? That was a name!
Well, Cody, I rolled. Oh, so this is Garbage Kid, where we make a character on a random roll table from a little D&D what's the word I'm looking for?
Supplement.
Thank you. Supplement book. This book is a book, and it is Xanathar's. So
can you say the full title?
What full title?
The full title of the supplement?
What's the full title of the supplement? I thought it was just called Xanathar's.
No, it's something else, and you know it.
Xanathar's Guide to Monsters.
No.
Curse at Renhaven.
No, that's not even. I think
Curse of Strahd.
There you go. I mean,
Sunless Citadel.
That's the adventure.
Player Handbook 1. Xanathar's got everything.
Everything.
So there's like in the middle section of the book, this like these just gigantic tables of random things. If you're trying to design an NPC, or if you are like just wanting to play like a weird wacky character. Oh, I forgot to do that other thing that we do. Damn it.
It's all right. Let's look it up.
Yeah. So well, the first thing you roll, or at least the first thing I roll when I approach Garbage Kid, is the character race.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have it broken down. And 96 to 100 is the most beautiful 2 words in the entire world, which is DM's choice. And I rolled a 97.
Yeah!
So my boy is a Firbolg.
Nice.
Which explains his very, very long name.
Okay.
Wysperios Adbalar Olasaro Nightquake. Because I had to get that 7th Sanctum name in there.
Yeah.
So he is friendly. He was originally a laborer. He's a bard. Oh, wait. They are a bard. Because we decided we were going to not do gender with them anymore.
Yep.
They are true neutral. They knew who their parents were. They were born in a home. They were an only child. And they grew up with both their mother and their father.
That's nice.
They had a modest lifestyle.
Cool.
And this modest lifestyle afforded them to live in a mansion.
Wow.
Now, quick little sidebar. At the museum I work at, we have a mansion from the
Redacted.
and
We'll see.
the family that lived there was living on a relatively limited income.
Sure.
So it's possible to have a modest lifestyle and still live in a mansion.
Sure.
And then they've had a few close friends, and they lived an ordinary childhood. They became a bard because they picked up a musical instrument one day, and instantly they discovered they could play it.
Yeah.
This character is 41 to 50 years old, and they have 6 life events. They witnessed a minor miracle. They met someone important named Umgrum. They worked as a laborer. They lost all their possessions in a disaster, and they had to rebuild their life. They made an enemy, and they made a friend.
Nice.
So that is...
I like that little self plug-in of Umgrum.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Cody.
And everyone who's been watching the podcast since day one knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. That was for our diamond platinum members.
Ooh. Our diamond platinum.
Diamond platinum. Usually most things are one or the other, but we combined them.
Oh no.
Diamond platinum. That sounds like a good villain name. Oh man, did you pick what we're going to be talking about later in the episode?
That's amazing.
But anyway, shit, man, this episode's off the rails. It's going to be like 3 hours long, isn't it?
No.
Cool. Hey, Cody, you want to talk about Starfinder?
Yeah. Tell me about it.
My enthusiasm for these like setup sections is just golden.
It's so good. I think everyone thinks that. You actually don't care.
You know what? You know what I think it was.
Huh.
I think I burned a lot of my energy on the hill that I'm standing on defending Solo: A Star Wars Story, Comic Joe's favorite Star Wars film.
If this was a visual medium, there'd just be a counter in the corner, just counting all the times you have said that.
Yeah. I'm thinking I might retire the bit for a minute because it's like I might be burning it out a little too quick. But anyways,
no.
So
yeah, let's talk about
okay,
Starfinder. Right? Starfinder?
Yeah, here's the thing, Cody.
Yeah?
I have to break my own promise that I made like 2 seconds ago. Because as my friend and I were driving home from seeing Solo: A Star Wars Story, Comic Joe's favorite Star Wars film, we were talking about how badly we wanted to play a space RPG. And very recently, like within the past few months, Pathfinder has released a new book/campaign setting, which is called Starfinder. And so, Pathfinder, that probably sounds familiar.
Yeah. For those of you who aren't familiar, Pathfinder was kind of this is kind of, secondhand knowledge, but Pathfinder was a kind of a Dungeons and Dragons 3.5, like, not clone. Clone isn't right, because they do their own things, but it's a fantasy rule book, very inspired by the very complicated and very like over the top kind of customization that Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 had.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of like different and cool things, but a lot of people, refer to it as like 3.5 times like 20,000.
I've heard the joke is 3.75.
Pretty much.
Which I think is very funny.
Yeah.
You can tell by the way I said I think it's very funny. I think it's very funny. But I do think one of the really neat things about Pathfinder is the fact that, like 3.5 was its sort of like core, like it's like the spine, if you will.
Yeah.
But like, whereas like Wizards of the Coast has now created like 2 new, like they created 4E. 4E didn't go over all that well. Now they're on 5E. Although I don't think there's some 4E defenders out there. But
4E is just a different game.
Sure, 100%.
And
then they made 5E, which we've talked about. We both really enjoy 5E. In a similar way, Pathfinder was continuing to refine and update their models.
Yeah.
And things like that. So, which I think is really cool, just because I know there are people out there who absolutely love 3.5 to death.
Yeah.
And as far as they're concerned, D&D stopped at 3.5. But like, if you,
I think everyone has their own edition. Like, if you play Dungeons and Dragons, I think everyone has like their core. I think it's gonna be like if they make
there's nothing wrong with that. Like, maybe not advanced Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, some people do.
I mean, I would argue the only thing that would like really just make, I like having my own dice. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And like the thing about advanced Dungeons and Dragons is, wasn't it only the DM who rolled?
Yeah, DM pretty much rolled everything. The players just kind of decided what they wanted to do.
I don't know. I don't think that would necessarily translate well to a 21st century gamer, like RPG gaming thing. Like, I like having my own dice in front of me. I like asking for like, 15d6 or whatever.
Yeah.
Things like that. But anyway, digression aside.
Because we've never done one of those
this episode. But yeah, basically, I think it's really cool because they've developed what, in my opinion, is a pretty cool looking space RPG.
Very cool.
So they have done three things. They have added, they're called character themes. Character themes act more or less as your classes.
Yeah, they're kind of like templates, if you will, because the game is so customizable.
Exactly. So you have like things like Ace Pilot. Okay, so like things that you might like recognize, like Priest, more or less your cleric.
Sure.
Outlaw, more or less
like your rogue.
I think Scholar is supposed to feel more or less like your wizard.
Sure.
Things like that. And then they have one called Themeless, which is kind of cool as well. They've developed a bunch of really cool new character races. So
cool.
Two that I just want to point out real quick that I think are kind of cool. I'm fairly certain you can be any like playable race in Pathfinder.
Okay.
In this game, the only thing is that like the third planet from the Pathfinder Sun, which was Pathfinder like medieval edition,
Sure.
disappeared and was replaced by a space station. Everyone's not quite sure what happened with it, but like I'm pretty sure that means that like dwarves and elves and stuff exist in the universe. So like if you really want to play one of those, you can play one of those. But some spacey ones that they've developed included are androids.
Yes.
So if you really want to be like a Data or like a droid from Star Wars or things like that,
That's what I want to do.
yeah, cool. No. I'm really digging the enthusiasm. You have a race called the Kasathas, which are these like four-armed, kind of like bug-like looking aliens.
I thought you were gonna say Goro from Mortal Kombat.
And they're like an honor-bound race that is really respectful of the past. And
cool.
Even though they were like one of the first like technologically advanced races, you have a couple other cool-looking ones. The Vesk look kind of cool. Those are like your Krogan-esque tough guy,
Kind of reptilian.
aliens. Yeah, they're 100% reptilian. And they're honor-bound in that like kind of Klingon way.
Sure.
Where it's like they're like the warrior caste.
Yeah.
And then one that I'm very
I feel
excited.
like that's so weird. Like that seems to be a common sci-fi trend. Is that like
The lizardmen are honor-bound.
or just like a caste system, like very warrior-like.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe it's based on Gila Monster or Kimono Dragons.
Sure.
Yeah. And then the Yosoki, which are little rat men.
Yeah.
That sounds great too. So like as I've been reading through it because I have a friend who's like trying to get a Starfinder campaign off the ground. I don't know what level of success he'll get or not, but there's one thing right off the bat that like doesn't have me super duper thrilled. Which is something I believe we've talked about on the podcast before. But as I'm going through and you're looking at the different character races, you get your pluses to different skills.
Yeah.
But you also get racial. So you get racial bonuses, but there are also racial deficits.
Mm-hmm. Some penalties, if you
penalties. Thank you. I was trying to think of their terminology was.
Yeah.
And
3.5 was notorious for like if you were an orc.
Yeah.
Like you probably shouldn't be a spellcaster, which to me feels very at least limiting.
That was basically what I was gonna say. Was like, one of the things that I'm almost certain I've said this on the podcast before, but it bears repeating, especially if you're like a first time listener. Welcome. This is a grand episode to come in on.
Yeah.
Wait till the next 2 weeks of episodes. They're gonna be buck wild. I can already guarantee it. Hey guys, quick sidebar. Do you really like listening to Joe and all of Joe's crazy antics and not having a person to keep you on the path and on the straight and narrow? Well, imagine, if you will, that the podcast had 2 Joes on it. Oh yeah, that's gonna be the next 2 weeks of your recording life.
Pure chaos. I will be out getting married and doing the honeymoon, so I'll be out for the next 2 weeks. So Joe is going to do this concentrated chaos in a more chaos environment, I think.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be weird.
I love it.
But one of the things I really liked about 5th edition, because I remember the point I was on actually, 5 points to me. You could really be whatever you want in 5th edition, which I think is really cool. Like, you can be like a half-orc druid, say, which, like, as you said, in previous editions would be impossible because, like, half-orcs would get penalties to both intelligence and wisdom.
Yeah.
And, like, so if you were a spellcaster, you would have to min-max the shit out of your character rolls.
Yeah.
Which isn't fun in a different way.
Right.
For those of you at home, min-maxing is like a technical term for building a character very, very specifically to minimize, like, to maximize the things you really want in a character, and it often leads to kind of characters who are weak in one really notorious way. And it's kind of inevitable, arguably. But
well, I think min-maxing comes from a style of play.
yeah, it's not one that we're used to. But
yeah. But anyways.
But yeah, I mean, I just think it's really cool because I know I've talked before about how I would really like books to like walk me through a non-fantasy style, like Dungeons and Dragons style RPG, and I know that there are books out there like that, and they're all fun in their own ways. Like I've really enjoyed like things like Monster of the Week, or like I've heard Fate Core system is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I love the mostest about D&D is just the variety of die that you get to use.
Yeah.
I think it's really cool. I think the variety of die really like drives home the like power discrepancies of characters as well.
Yeah.
Where it's like the barbarian gets that D12, and so like, you know, they hit hard, whereas like a rogue might only get like a D4, but like situationally they might get a bunch of D6s to add on top of it, for instance, or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas if everyone's rolling like D6s, it's like it's easier on one hand, but at the same time it just feels a little bit less like different. Like everyone feels unique in D&D based on the dice that you're rolling outside of that D20 everyone has.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I just think it's kind of neat that there is this system set up to play a space adventure.
Yeah.
My friend sent me some preliminary work he's been doing on the campaign. It looks like fun. So yeah, anything you want to add to this little discussion about? And if we get the game off the ground and we play a little bit, I'll come back in with my opinions. 'Cause it's been a wicked long time since I've played 3.5.
I do not envy you.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like this is Starfighter is like Pathfinder after a couple of levels of refinement. So hopefully it's not quite as rules wonky. But who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Not really questions, but I do want you to follow up because I would be interested to see where it goes and like.
I would be too.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe the fact that we're playing like it's possible we'll be playing on Roll20. So like
very cool.
That helps out in a lot of ways because Roll20 is a really nice little system that like can help you with the more complicated aspects of more rules wonky things. So thanks
cool.
Roll20. Roll20 is not a sponsor. Unless you want to be, hit us up. Roll20. But anyways,
so our last and final
section.
We are crushing it at an hour and 4 minutes.
Oh, okay. I thought for sure we were going to be at like
an
hour and a half.
We're good.
And I was like, okay. So anyway,
I mean, we might at this point.
At the end of it, but if we weren't at if we weren't at grab the bag and we were at an hour and a half, we'd be in trouble. Is the thing I was.
Or the episode would just be over because we did the grab bag at the beginning.
That's fair.
So normally
double grabber.
So last week we decided that we were gonna be more on the same page.
Yeah, for
with some of our grab bag stuff.
Just why I put all the show shit at the beginning. So
right.
Yeah.
So this week we decided, Joe, as far as my knowledge serves, you're caught up.
Yeah, I'm 100% caught up.
So I am into season 2 of Steven Universe.
Hey everyone, spoilers if you haven't watched Steven Universe.
I'm totally going to spoil the first season of it.
Yeah.
Which is quite a lot.
If you haven't listened to Steven Universe and you don't want to get spoiled, thank you so much for listening to Phantom Roulette.
Yeah.
And if you watch up to the point we're at, which is about 4 or 5 episodes in the season 2,
something like that. Yeah.
Feel free to come back in and pick it up right about here. I'm sure Cody will make a mark, but thank you for listening to the episode. We appreciate it so much, and we're back. So I'm also just going to throw this one out there, Cody.
Yeah.
I would humbly request that you kind of take the lead on the conversation so I don't accidentally spoil something for
yes.
you.
Okay, perfect. No, that's how I figured we would do this. So
Yeah.
I am probably something like 5-6-ish episodes into season 2. What can I say about Steven Universe other than like? So last week we talked about a lighthearted, quote unquote kids show.
Mm-hmm.
I put it in quotations because I think there's an audience for.
Oh yeah,
for
100%. I mean, it's an animated show, which is often, sadly, just thrown into the realm of kid show,
right?
Without much further critical analysis.
But
anyways,
so Steven Universe is a lighthearted, Western-styled animated cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
That does a really good job at being not only funny, but kicking you right in the feels when it needs to.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
I would argue that it's definitely like a family show. Like I think it upgraded itself from being just kind of like a kids show to like something that like anybody could watch and anybody could enjoy.
Yeah,
for several reasons.
Sure.
One, I love Steven. I think he is the exact right hero that I want in a cartoon.
I would agree with that.
He's not the ridiculously impossible to achieve like person. Like he is a boy just like all of the other boys. He's happy. He's very he's very excited about everything. He's very kind, but like it's not like he's this perfect person. He screws up.
Sure.
He's not even like in terms of physique, like he's a little rounder.
Yep.
And
he's a portly lad.
Yeah, he's a portly lad. But
he
you know what?
Donuts.
I think he's my favorite for several reasons. Like one, I think he's the perfect representation of what it gets away from that toxic masculinity that seems to kind of run rampant in a lot of kids shows and a lot of cartoons.
Yeah.
Because he's not your typical main hero. Because when and then I guess this is spoilers. This takes place in kind of a fantasy Earth timeline where the people that he hangs out with are called gems, which are basically aliens from another planet, and he is a half human, half gem.
Yes.
And everyone kind of gets their own style of weapon, and his is a shield, which is very like kind of opposite of what normal kind of fantasy main characters would have. Like they'd have a sword or a hammer or something very like offensive.
Yeah.
And it's cool that he has like very defensive or almost support role
and then
properties.
The other way his magic manifests itself is he can create a little bubble around him.
Yeah. Which is super cool.
Similar thing.
Yeah, and so on top of that, so like we got a really cool main character who's very different from what you've seen, or at least in my personal experience, what I've seen.
Have you seen the episode? I think it's called like Steven's Final Test.
Yes.
So spoiler for that episode.
Yeah, you find out that one of the early episodes was like a test that he didn't do super hot on.
Yeah.
And so he wants to do it again. And he finds out again that it's like a test that he was going to win anyways. Like it was supposed to be like an ego boost for him, but he figures it out.
They rigged the test in his favor. And there are a couple of aspects of that episode and then like the early part of the show in general that is going to kind of coincide with your point and maybe even expand it a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is at no point is anyone pushing him to be the special or to be the chosen one. It's like you could tell that the crystal gems would be as content if he chose to not learn how to manifest his powers. Like they're very encouraging of him. They'd very much like for him to rise up to the level of his mom, who is this like super cool revolutionary figure.
Yeah, she's like super infamous to like everyone in the show.
Sure. And like they'd be like, man, it'd be really rad if you were able to do that, but at the same time, if that's like not the path you want to take, then like we're okay with that.
Yeah, and I think that just makes for a really cool character. I think the other thing that I really like about the show that I don't think I've seen in a lot of just like shows or cartoons or really anything that I can think of is that his role models are 3 badass ladies who all have very unique like personalities and character development, which So good.
I am giving a thumbs up.
Yeah. There's Garnet, there's Amethyst, and there's Pearl, and they're all very unique and different. Like, they don't feel like the same. I feel like that's another problem with cartoons is sometimes people fill like a really dumb role.
Okay.
That, like, maybe it's only useful for an episode, and then they're like, shit, well, everyone liked them, so we have to put them in the show. But these 3 role models are super awesome. They have their own, they've got their own ideals, and they've got their own flaws, and, all these really good character traits that really, like, that evolve, even through that first season. Like, it's one of those shows that, while it's set up like a cartoon where you can kind of dive in wherever you like, because that's how cartoons usually work, is you don't necessarily watch it from A to B, you just kind of catch shows whenever you can, and I think the show does like a kind of a good job at slowly giving you like forward plot while still being like a fun show.
Sure, I would agree with that.
I mean, granted, I'm binging it.
Yeah, so that is something that I would like to bring up real quick.
Yeah,
our experiences are a little different, and admittedly, aspects of season 1 are a little hazy to me because I was watching it as it was being released. So the episodes are about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
10 to 15 minutes. I think the longest might be 15 minutes. And for a while, it was running at a pretty regular clip. And then there was a while where it would go on hiatuses, and they would do these things called quote-unquote Steven bombs.
Okay.
Which was, we're going to release a new episode 1 day a week for 5 days.
Oh, okay.
And then people really liked that model, so they kept adopting that model, and adopting that model, and adopting that model. And I also quite like Steven Universe quite a bit. But watching it in real time was often very frustrating to me.
I don't doubt that. Like, I'm going to be really sad when I'm caught up.
Yeah. Well, and it's also because so season 1 is very, it parses out its information very, very slowly and very, very deliberately.
Yes.
In a cool way that is frustrating when you have to wait months at a time for what is the equivalent of less than an hour of content.
Yeah, that's gotta be, that's rough.
And so, like, in the early episodes, like, they'll be going to these, like, gem temples, and, like, Steven will be walking around, and he'll be doing his, like, goofy little kid thing, and, like, in the background, like, you'll see, like, a mural of, like,
plot.
three, like, amethysts fighting, like, a quartz or whatever.
Sure.
Right? And so it was very deliberate with its sort of parsing things out. And I'm super cool with that. Like, I don't want a show to, like, spoon feed me everything. I don't want, like, a show to, like, say, like, here's the plot, dum-dum.
Right.
Or anything like that. But I would like to bring up real quick a show that I think is very similar. It is called Star vs. the Forces of Evil, and I promise it's going to be a brief tangent. Star vs. the Forces of Evil is a show that is, in my opinion, similar in a couple of ways, in that it is a Western animated show that's very inspired by anime, specifically Magical Girl anime.
Yeah.
It is a show that I feel masterfully combines lighthearted element while at the same time parsing out really intense, cool plots. And then it is a show that is 23 minutes long, with your kind of traditional animation, like A episode, B episode. And what I mean by that is, like, if you've ever watched, like, a classic cartoon, like, from our age group, like Rugrats, SpongeBob, Fairly Odd Parents, things like that, there would be a 10-minute episode, there'd be the commercial break, then there'd be another 10-minute episode.
Yeah.
And in Star vs. the Forces of Evil, almost always one of the episodes will be, like, wacky, and then the other one will be, like, plotty.
Okay.
Or at the very least, like, it could be, like, 2 wacky episodes, but, like, the plot-heavier one will, like, drop some more serious hints. Okay. Or we'll end with, like, a really cool twist or things like that. Whereas the thing with Steven Universe is, like, you're waiting for these Steven bombs, and it's usually, like, you know, like, maybe 2 plot ones and then 3 wacky ones.
Yeah. I definitely noticed, like, there is a lot of time, like, especially if you're watching it as they're coming out, there's a lot of, like wacky episodes that kind of...
Mm-hmm. Which are great, and they're fun.
Well, I think
and I'm not, like, being the kind of guy who, like, hey, it's fun or anything like that, but at the same time, it's like, you drop these really intriguing ideas, and then I have to wait for, like, 2 months.
Yeah.
And then you might not even necessarily address the thing that I was really intrigued about until the last episode of another Steven Bomb after 2 months.
Right.
Whereas if it was a more traditional style, like, part A would be cheeseburger backpack, and then part B would be, like, here's some, like, kind of covert information about Rose Quartz.
Right.
Like, I think I probably would have enjoyed that a little bit better.
Yeah.
Just saying. I still watch it. I still watch it regularly, or rather when it comes out, because television seasons are meaningless, as they ran for another day. But anyways,
yeah,
go on.
So, like I said before, it does a really good job at being, like, lighthearted and, like, not necessarily too kiddie, but also throwing some really deep, like, character, like, developments.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, all the characters, like, evolve during the show. It's not like your standard TV garbage where it's like the character is the same from when they entered to when they left.
Yeah, there's a term for that, but I can't think of it right now.
Right. I also really love, and this is totally like probably a nod at, like, anime and stuff, but I love their fusions, where the gems can, if they so choose, although you find out later that that's not always the case, that gems can fuse into one another and create a mix of the two that is greater than the sums of its parts, which is kind of an interesting concept, and I feel like it keeps it interesting, like, in terms of, like, characters. Like, you get to see, like, all these neat, like, kind of weird combo characters, and like...
And here's a fun little fact for you.
Yeah.
Spoilers! If you're still listening, what are you doing here? Almost... I'm pretty sure, and I can look this up and maybe redact, like, change up the information. Almost all of the fusions are voiced by female music stars.
Oh, cool.
So, like, Nicki Minaj is one of them. Amy Mann, who is, like, a folk singer, is one of them. I just thought of one that isn't. But I can't go into the detail. But, like, at least in the early part, almost all of the fusions were either, like, singer-songwriters or actresses / songwriters.
Yeah.
But anyways.
But yeah, I mean, I say granted I'm only in season 1, but that was, like, 50 plus episodes?
Yeah, and that's why TV seasons are meaningless, but...
Right, so, like, I'm, like, way more than 50 episodes into this series, because it's just so, like, at least with, like, Hulu and being able to watch it all at once and, like, kind of binge it, it's really nice to just be like, oh shit, I just watched, like, 5 episodes in an hour, where, like, another show, it'd be like, oh cool, I just finished the pilot episode.
Oh, episode in an hour?
Yeah, so it's, like, really... But yeah, there's something about the show. It's got me hooked in way, like, I feel things, like, I feel like I'm the Grinch at the end of Grinch Stealing Christmas. My heart grows.
The music's, like, super charming, and it's very emotive without necessarily being overbearing.
Yeah. Also the art. Can we talk about the art for a second? I'm a design major.
Yeah.
So, like, as much as normally I'm not super into the style that the characters are in, because it's a very, like, minimalist Western style.
Yeah, they're very geometric.
Yeah. However, I do like that everyone is very deliberate.
Sure.
Like, all the characters, like, they have personality in their shapes and stuff like that. Like, I rarely find myself wondering who somebody is, which, compared to most shows that I watch, I have a hard time remembering the names of people.
Okay.
Whereas in this show, like, I know Steven as soon as I see him, even though, whatever. Or, like, the different gems. Like, I know exactly... And then also those backdrops.
Yes.
Oh God, that like if I could do that, like if I could just spend my free time making like those beautiful backdrops, I would.
I think another thing that kind of helps with the distinctiveness of the characters is the fact that they're all very deliberately color coded.
Yes.
Which helps out a lot as well, and their color is roughly equivalent to the color of their gem.
Yes.
Not like perfectly equivalent to the color of their gem, but very close. So like amethyst is like a purple-ish color.
Right.
Pearl is a like whitish yellow color, and then garnet is a
kind of like mix of red
deep red color. But yeah, no, those backdrops are, like you said, gorgeous.
Yeah.
I find myself really visually engaged anytime it's gem related.
Yeah.
I know like water is super hard to animate and beach scenes are super hard to get right as well, but like anytime they're at a gem temple, I'm like, ooh, I want to learn more about this.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we'll see you in a year. I'm like, damn you, Rebecca Sugar. Why would you play me like that?
Damn. Yeah. And it's so good.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that I dived into this because at first, my fiance, soon to be wife, told me like, yeah, you should pick this up. I think Steven's a very good character. You should totally watch it. And I was kind of like, I had my sinking suspicion that it was going to be similar to Troll Hunters, but no, I'm hooked, and I'm along for the ride.
It's definitely different, and I've now pitched to Cody a couple of cartoons that I feel are
similar
in a lot of ways. Of those three, one of them might actually be like one of my favorite cartoons of all time.
Which
I
one's
won't
it?
tell you which one.
Fuck.
But yeah, it I think it's a really good show. It's worth a watch. Two quick questions for you, Cody.
Yeah.
Who would you say is your favorite mom? And by that, of course, I mean
of the three,
Square Mom, who is Garnet, Bird Mom, who is Pearl, and Purple Ant, which is what I call her, even though everyone else calls her Purple Mom, which is Amethyst. And who do you think? Which character do you think has had the most interesting growth?
Ooh, well, Pearl's my favorite.
Cool.
Of the mothers. Not that I don't. They're all pretty high up there. Like this was I had a lot of time to think about it, and like it was very hard because I kept switching. I was like, I love Pearl. No, I love Garnet. No, I love Amethyst. Fuck, and I just I kept doing that. But I think I'm sold on Pearl is my favorite gem mother.
Cool. And then which character do you think has had the most interesting level of growth?
Oh, Garnet for sure.
Cool. All right.
What about you?
So Pearl is also my favorite mom.
Yeah.
There was something about her that I've always kind of loved.
Mm-hmm.
She's incredibly nurturing.
Yes.
While at the same time, like, kind of, maybe there's a little bit more going on there than you would think, which I won't say any much more than that.
Yeah.
And then I think, in my opinion, the most interesting character in terms of growth is also very frustrating character to me is Amethyst.
Amethyst was second on my book. So and maybe later I'll learn more.
Well, and I don't quite remember where you are and where some big drops in the story happen.
So what I've learned, and this is spoilers for season 1. So
yeah, cool.
Is that you find out that Amethyst was a genetically created like semi-monster, but not really. Like they got her out before, and she's like the only of these kind of genetically bred gems that were supposed to be basically war machines. She was kind of like the cool one out of the group, and they do like that whole episode where she's really upset that Pearl and Garnet really like hate where she comes from.
Yeah.
And then there might be another episode where I kind of learn a little more, but otherwise
there's some interesting stuff happen.
Yeah, a lot of it has been very Garnet focused, and then Garnet and Pearl with like a little splash of Amethyst in there.
Which, like I said, I don't quite remember where drops happen, which is why I'm being vague about it.
Yeah.
I think that
when I get caught up, we'll talk.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things I thought was kind of interesting, and I feel of the three, Amethyst is the first one to be most likable.
Sure.
because she's very like goofy and free spirited and all this stuff. And then it, like I said, it creates interesting character growth. And I think about it, I've thought about it in this way, which I've always thought about it in this way, but I've never actually put these necessarily words to it. And it hit me, and it was kind of, without tooting my own horn, kind of brilliant. Do you have a member of your family, and if you don't, it's cool, but like, I have a cousin who is significantly older than I am.
Okay.
And when I was a kid, I thought he was really cool because he was kind of always like carefree and like had some level of kid energy to him, and this and that and the other thing. And then as I continued to grow, he wasn't changing by any way. And then now I'm an adult and I look at him and I'm like, oh, this person never grew up. Do you have anyone like that in your family? Like,
I really hope none of my family listens to this episode.
But like
yes, there is one. If any of my family is listening,
and we're being vague. We're being vague.
Incredibly vague.
We're not talking about.
There is one human in the family who I didn't really have that that start.
Yeah.
But I found out through as I grew up that this particular person hasn't.
Okay, because like to sort of, I mean, maybe do it that's not our family centric. I had at one point had a coworker who she was telling a story at lunch one day that she had an older brother who only ate chicken fingers.
Okay.
To the point where they were at a family wedding, and the choice was like, you know, chicken, vegetarian, or like fish, and or like chicken, vegan, fish.
Yeah.
And this adult person was insistent that he get his chicken fingers because he did not want to eat those 3 options available to him. And as a kid, it's like, wow, that's rad. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, and like, once again, without being as spoiler-free as possible,
sure.
Like, if you were to look at it as a bar graph, it starts off like Amethyst and Steven are on like a similar level of like growth and maturity and things like that.
Yeah.
And then at some point, Steven starts skyrocketing, and Amethyst is more or less staying the same.
Yeah.
Like her line is growing, she's changing, she's maturing, but Steven is doing it at such a faster rate that it like kind of brings her character into this like really stark contrast.
Yeah.
Radically different than the way you first see it.
Yeah, I think I am starting to get to that point.
Yeah.
There have been a couple of episodes where I'm like, damn, Steven.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I am starting to notice this kind of stark contrast.
Yeah.
I'm also noticing that there were 2 things that I noticed that kind of really kind of threw me for a loop.
Okay.
And in those first like 5-6 episodes. One, they changed the intro, which I love. I love the second season intro. Do they do it for the next season, or do they keep the same one?
I think they keep the same one.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, it's a great intro.
Yeah.
I actually really dig the second one over the first one, but I
Okay.
understand why the first one exists. The one thing I noticed is Garnet changes very dramatically from season 1 to season 2, almost as if the writers just decided at some point, like, Garnet needs to bump up those emotions, because in the season 1, she's very, like, to the point, like, yes, no, do that thing, and I like that about her. Like, I like that she's very to the point.
She was
she's
like
kind
the
of
no-nonsense kind of leader mom.
Right, and now she's kind of, like, now that some things have been revealed, like, you know, the fact that, big spoilers, that,
oh, man.
are we gonna do that on the podcast? Are we gonna be those people?
Oh, no. Holy shit, Cody, you just, like, fucking blew my mind a little bit.
Oh.
I think, if you don't say the thing I think you're gonna say...
No, I'm gonna say it, fuck it.
No. Yeah, okay, say it.
Garnet is a fusion. And you don't find out until very much later, and then it's a very stark contrast. It's like, once you find out she's a fusion, all of a sudden, she's very more open to Steven and the gems.
I just realized something.
Maybe that is intentional?
I wonder if it's a metaphor for coming out of the closet.
Oh. Huh. That could be.
That just kind of hit me where it's like she was keeping this secret.
Yeah.
And then she revealed the secret. And now she feels more comfortable being herself.
Yeah.
Around Steven, where you see both kind of aspects of the personality, like, kind of playing off of one another.
Yeah.
Within her fusion. Huh. I bet there's a think piece out there like that I never actually saw.
Sure.
But, like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's what they were going for.
Maybe. But either way, it was a very, like... That was, like, one of the big things I noticed. And then the other thing I noticed, and I don't know if this has a similar, like... Maybe this was intentional, maybe it wasn't. Mm-hmm. Pearl seems way more animated and just more lively than she did in season 1.
Yeah.
Like, there's, like, her... Because, like, there's this... and I'm going to probably butcher this, so bear with me. There was an old technique, and I think they did it in, like, Ren and Stimpy and a lot of those, like, 90s cartoons, where the artists would challenge themselves to make a different face for every interaction.
Oh, cool.
And so, like, and I think Ren and Stimpy was one of those. Like, if you look, it's very rare to find, like, the same face.
And, you know, it's kind of cutting down on, like, the whole, like, Flintstones thing where they would recycle the same background animation in a loop 15 times in a row.
Yeah, and I think that was probably, like, the counterculture of that whole, like, idea. And, like, all of a sudden with season 2... It's like all of a sudden Pearl's way more lively, like she is more expressive with her emotions, where she was very much like a mother figure in season 1, and now she's kind of, I think, because this is also kind of the first time that Pearl makes a pretty grave mistake that causes some kind of drama.
Sure.
And you know, we're seeing a lot of emotions come out of her in at least at the end of season 1 and beginning of season 2 that I thought was interesting, but also kind of alarm. Like it was a jolt to the system. I was like, oh, that's a thing that can happen.
I understand what you're saying. And then one last thing.
Yeah.
That's cool. This show is really popular and important to a lot of people in the LGBT community.
Yep.
Which I think is super cool because. You know, I'm a big advocate of anyone can watch anything, and like I've been an outspoken champion of like adults watching cartoons, and cartoons that were like expressly like, you know, nothing. I don't know how I quite want to say this. Like obviously, little kids probably shouldn't be watching like R-rated movies and things like that, but it's like. I think something's at its best when there is a level of enjoyment for people of all ages.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think it's super cool that this is a show that has fostered such a safe community for people of the LGBT community.
Absolutely.
And things like that. It's really super rad.
Yeah.
And one teeny tiny last little note.
Of course.
When I was living in New Orleans, I had made a friend, I had a little group of friends down in there. I lived in New Orleans doing a museum internship, and the last night I was there, the next day, a person who I had actually become friends with was taking over my room, basically.
Okay.
And she was moving in, and she was telling me that she was telling her either just a friend or maybe her girlfriend that I was basically the equivalent of an adult Steven, which is the proudest compliment I've ever been given in my entire life, and I kind of wear it as a badge of honor.
Nice.
So,
congrats, my dude.
Yeah, it was pretty great. So yeah, Steven Universe, highly recommended.
Yes, and coming from a guy who did not like the last episode or the last show that he watched, I really dig this one. So I think there's something here for everybody.
Yeah, and if you like this animation talk, then the next 2 weeks are for you.
Yeah, a quick reminder to everybody. If we talked about it earlier, but I'm going to be out for the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
So
congratulations to Cody. Everyone get some congratulations to Cody.
Woo!
Everyone said congratulations to Cody. It's going to be rad.
Yeah. So Joe's going to take over, and he's going to bring on a special guest to talk about fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm going to take the reins, and our plan of attack, at least as far as we're doing it right now, we are planning next week to be kind of like a retrospective and a discussion about Western animation, and then the week after that, it's going to kind of be a retrospective and discussion of Eastern animation, specifically anime, because I know like lots of cultures have their own styles of animation, but
Sure.
I think the only one that's really truly kind of penetrated the Western market has been anime.
Sure.
So hopefully look forward to that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But thank you guys for putting up with this very long tangent-filled episode of Fan Roulette that had a fucking grab bag at the beginning and a grab bag at the end. And if you have like a valid criticism of Solo, cool. But if it's like, I don't even know about that stupid thing, shut up.
And and if you want to get a Joe, do all the things: email, Twitter,
cool,
etc.
And thank you so much for listening. You guys are the best. Signing off. This is Joe,
And I'm Cody.
and as always, stay nerdy.
Stay super nerdy.